This is 4D with Demi Lovato. Today on the show, author, actor, advocate, Chaz Bono. He is also a transgender man. You might know him from shows like American Horror Story and Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I just know him as an early example of someone truly following their heart. So stick around for that. Mental health is a lifelong journey. With Talkspace, you can match with a licensed therapist and send them unlimited messages. Using Talkspace feels a little like having a therapist in your pocket. That's why being able to reach out anytime from anywhere makes taking care of my mental health super easy. I'm more relaxed when I'm traveling, knowing if I need to talk, I can just send a message from wherever I am. Working through things in therapy can be tough, but connecting with a therapist isn't. I wholeheartedly recommend Talkspace for therapy. You can sign up online and start therapy the same day as you sign up. You can text, video, or send voice messages to your licensed therapist, so it's incredibly convenient to have virtual sessions from the comfort of your home. Talkspace is a fraction of the cost of in-person therapy. Instead of waiting for an appointment, you can send unlimited messages to your therapist 24/7 and they'll engage with you daily, 5 days a week. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $100 off your first month with Talkspace. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to talkspace.com. Make sure to use the code 4D to get $100 off of your first month and show your support for the show. That's 4D and talkspace.com. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Demi, and it is so wonderful to get to talk to you.
I watched your interview with Drew, which was great.
Thanks.
And I love her. And
me too. She's so great.
When I was a freshman in a high school, that first year I was living with the Strasbergs, with Lee's widow and his two sons. My mom we didn't have a place out there yet, so I stayed with them. And Drew, she's younger than me, but I always think it's much younger because when I was 14, she seemed much younger. But now that we're grown-ups, I don't think it's that big of a difference. But
that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was really close with David, Lee's younger son. This is a really sweet kid. Drew had this huge crush on him and hated me because somehow I was in the way.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Oh, I little did she know.
Right, exactly. She had nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, cute. Before I start each episode, I've started giving people the opportunity to introduce themselves to my audience. However you would like to introduce yourself to my audience, whether it is actor or just awesome human being, go for it.
Sure. I think of myself at this point as kind of an actor first and foremost, just because it's the thing that I love to do and it's kind of just my passion and what gets me out of bed in the morning. But that's my job. Obviously, there's a lot more to me. But yeah, that's what I love doing. That's what makes me happy.
I wanted to talk to you because you are such a trailblazer. And
thank you.
And it really, truly is an honor getting to have this conversation with you. I watched you in your documentary Transition, and I kept thinking, wow, you have so much courage, because this was not something that was something, I guess, in the media and public figures. I had never seen that before. And you just handled it with so much bravery, and I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell my audience a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. It's funny because having lived it, I don't think of myself as that brave, because honestly, yes. I figured out that I was trans, almost 10 years before I transitioned, and was terrified, absolutely terrified of it. It's not, it's not something when I grew up, I was born in 1969. I was a kid in the 70s. I knew that there was something totally different about me as a kid. I knew that I wished I was a boy. I knew that I felt like a boy. I didn't have a name for it. So it's so different from how, kids are today.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I was about 13, I started to identify my attraction to girls, and I knew gay and lesbian. So I just thought, okay, that's what this feeling is. And I tried to fit into that identity for about 30 years. And then early 2000s, I, started to realize there's something not right here. And I really, there were different things, but I distinctly remember being at a party, with just a lot of lesbians, like a big lesbian kind of barbecue thing. And I was kind of, talking to people, but I always lived in my head, and I always, was kind of observing. And I remember at this particular time thinking, these, all of these women, no matter, how they present themselves, or, now I know it was their gender expression, but I didn't have those words then. So I was kind of like, whether they're, more feminine or more butch or whatever, they all identify as women. They all are happy being women, and I'm not. And for a really long time, I thought that there was a part of the lesbian community that felt like me, which was, I feel like a man. I wish I were a man. I'm not, so I'll have to deal with it. And at that party, I realized that's not the definition of any type of lesbian. So if that's not a lesbian, what am I? And it was kind of at that point that I started to realize maybe I'm trans. But I was so, terrified to kind of deal with that it took years to kind of unpack that. And at that time, I was still, I hadn't gotten sober yet. So I was still, dealing with substance abuse. And then once I did, I was still dealing with just tremendous fear of rejection from everybody, including people I didn't even know and would never meet, which is crazy. But that's where, I was. It took time. I had to deal with family not being comfortable, with partners not being comfortable. And finally, I got to a place where I didn't care, and I was ready to finally take care of myself. And honestly, the thing that helped me probably the most, when I tell people this, they look at me like, but Al-Anon is actually the thing that helped me probably transition more than anything else.
So for people who don't know what Al-Anon is, would you care to explain?
Sure. Al-Anon is a 12-step program for family, friends, husbands, wife, partners of people with substance abuse issues. And at that time, I was in a relationship with somebody who kept relapsing. I was at that point sober I was sober for 5 years when I finally transitioned. But as I was going through this, my girlfriend at the time, when we met, we were both sober about a year. And then she kept relapsing. And at the time, it was very upsetting, but it ended up being an incredible gift because it got me to Al-Anon. And what Al-Anon really teaches you is how to take care of yourself first and foremost, to take care of your own needs first. And I spent my life being a people pleaser. And so
me too.
Yeah. So, in order to transition, which is something that, you generally, when you tell people, hey, I'm trans and I'm going to transition, they're not like, hey, good on you. They're like, are you out of your mind? I had one person who was my youngest sister which is really kind of telling. She was about 17 when I told her, who was like, "That's awesome, congratulations." And that was the only person in my family who did that. So I finally, that helped me to finally realize I need to do this for myself. And once I had that I'll call it a moment of clarity, because when it finally hit me, I felt really positive about the whole thing, and I had no doubt, and I started my transition. And because I was a public figure, I knew that there was no way I would be able to do it privately. So it was either I tell my story or I let others tell my story, and they're not going to do it well. And also, while I was in that process of trying to find the strength to transition, I did two things, because I couldn't go to any groups and I couldn't talk to any other trans people. And it was really before the internet and YouTube and all of that. So I read trans people's books about their transitions, and I watched documentaries. And so I felt strongly about doing both of those things to kind of give back what was given to me when I was in such a dark place of knowing who I was, what I needed to do, what would make me happy, but being too afraid to do it.
One thing that I really, really loved about watching your documentary was how you went to that center, a place where the parents were able to hold a support group for each other and the kids were able to play.
So that is called Transforming Family. I'm still very much a part of it. We're now very big.
Wow. That's so cool.
We are now very big. We've been on Zoom since COVID, but I do the transmasculine youths with two other trans guys, and we've been at Children's Hospital Los Angeles for years and years now. We've grown out of our space there now, so we're looking for something bigger. But
wow.
But we are huge.
Oh, that's so awesome. I think it's just so incredible that children and the younger generations have people to look at, not only as trailblazers, but also supportive members of the community that are able to help walk them through that journey. And like you said, hopefully, help them have an easier time. I want to talk a tiny bit about your acting. I think it's so important for trans people to feel recognized and celebrated. But where do you draw the line between wanting to pursue visibility and not wanting to be entirely defined by your gender?
So I'm a little different than I think a lot of trans actors. And I discovered that when I did this roundtable with a bunch of us for Variety. And I was really the only actor in the group who really doesn't like playing trans parts. I'll do them. I mean, I did it, in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it was amazing because I was working with Larry David, and I was doing Curb Your Enthusiasm. But it's not my number one choice. I consider myself a character actor, so I want to play parts that are as far away from me as possible. And my favorite stuff has been the stuff that I did on American Horror Story, and I love playing bad guys. I love horror. I love dark stuff. That's what really turns me on as an actor. And everybody else was kind of like really into telling trans stories, and it took me a while. I remember leaving that thinking, what is wrong with me? And then it kind of hit me that I started in activism in my 20s. I mean, it wasn't specifically for the trans community, it was LGBT, activism. And I did that, I worked for GLAAD, and I worked for the Human Rights Campaign, and I wrote books, and then I did documented my transition. I did all of that. When I was a kid is when I started acting. At 14, I was really miserable in school. I was, in middle school, which is just a horror. And my mom decided to get me over to Strasberg's youth program here in LA. There are so many things I can look back with at my childhood and file in the, what were my parents thinking category. But this one decision that my mom did to get me in there was the best thing ever. It was the best thing she ever did. And, I immediately loved acting. I made friends. It just opened my whole world up. And in fact, my girlfriend now, we met there when we were 14.
Oh my God, that's so cute. Oh my God.
In fact, my girlfriend is the first person I ever kissed.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I went there, and then I'd seen Fame a few years earlier, and I asked my mom, can I audition for, performing arts? And she went to New York and checked it out, and I guess they told her how many people audition, and just a few get in, comparatively thousands. And so she's like, yeah, okay, you can audition. And I did, and I got in. And so, I loved acting. And then my senior year, I ended up getting cast in our one-time big production that you finally get to do in front of an audience as a male part. And it was the first time that I actually felt like I knew what I was doing on stage. And I didn't know why exactly, but I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to play male parts. I better figure out something else to do with my life. And so I quit acting and did a myriad of things. And then, cut to 2012, and I get asked to do a couple cameos, one in Degrassi and one in The Secret Life of the American Teen. And after that, both of them going really well and getting, nice comments from both directors, I decided, I'm going to check out an acting class. I haven't been in a class since I was 18. I'm going to check something out. A good friend of mine who's a agent suggested going to Anthony Mindel's studio. I went, I audited a class. Okay, this looks pretty good. I'll check it out. I started in class, and pretty quickly I realized that, this is what I love. I have to, do everything I can to do this for a living, for the rest of my life. And so that day after, we did this round table, and I was thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? I kind of realized after a second and talking to some friends that, these guys, once they started acting and got recognized, that was the first time they had a voice to be able to do activism. I've been doing activism my whole life and kind of put on hold my true love, which was acting, until now. And so now I really want to do, I still care about stuff and I still do activism, but I keep them real separate for me. And so what I really love to do is to just, give me a part that is gritty and, and where you don't even recognize it's me. That's my favorite kind of role to do.
I love that. Mental health is a lifelong journey. With Talkspace, you can match with a licensed therapist and send them unlimited messages. Using Talkspace feels a little like having a therapist in your pocket. That's why being able to reach out anytime from anywhere makes taking care of my mental health super easy. I'm more relaxed when I'm traveling, knowing if I need to talk, I can just send a message from wherever I am. Working through things in therapy can be tough, but connecting with a therapist isn't. I wholeheartedly recommend Talkspace for therapy. You can sign up online and start therapy the same day as you sign up. You can text, video, or send voice messages to your licensed therapist, so it's incredibly convenient to have virtual sessions from the comfort of your home. Talkspace is a fraction of the cost of in-person therapy. Instead of waiting for an appointment, you can send unlimited messages to your therapist 24/7 and they'll engage with you daily, 5 days a week. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $100 off your first month with Talkspace. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com. Make sure to use the code 4D to get $100 off of your first month and show your support for the show. That's 4D and Talkspace.com. So you have a new project called Reboot Camp.
Reboot Camp, yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Reboot Camp is a film I did. Actually, it's out now, but we filmed it the summer before the pandemic started, and it's a great ensemble. It's a mockumentary, which is kind of one of my favorite genres of comedy, and it's about these two brothers who want to make a film about kind of the dark side of self-help industry when it gets kind of cultish. And instead of just, filming that or talking to people about it, they decide to kind of make their own cult. And I play one of the members. I'm kind of the ultimate camper, I like to say, of Reboot Camp. Like if everybody else is, drinking a glass of Kool-Aid, I'm drinking the pitcher.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, but it's very funny. It's, we did really well. We won a bunch of film festivals, and now it's on video on demand and streaming everywhere. And it is a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so great. I love mockumentaries too. Specifically Spinal Tap.
Of
and
course.
Drop Dead Gorgeous. Why is it that you have found cults so fascinating?
I know, right? I've done 2 projects around cults. I like to say that, Herbert, who I play in Reboot Camp, is the light side of Gary, who was the character that I played in American Horror Story Cult.
That was so good. Oh,
thank you.
I can't. Yeah. Wow. That was really great.
Thank you. I don't, it is funny that I do find cults really fascinating, and I always have. I think it's the idea that, somebody can be compelled to, under the right circumstances, get lost in something like that. And I know, when I got involved in it, talking to Ivo, who's the writer and director of it, we talked about it, and that's what got him interested in writing about the subject was that under the right circumstances, almost anybody could get ensnared. And what's kind of cool about the movie is that as he was researching it, there are literally steps, and there are people that are particularly vulnerable. And my character Herbert, he comes in because his girlfriend leaves him, his pet dies, stuff, his life is in, transit. He's vulnerable. He's looking for somebody to help him figure it out. Mm-hmm. And throughout the movie, which is cool, there's an expert who kind of breaks down, and it's almost in chapters. And it was really funny. Somebody who we did an interview with for it literally was like, and she was so great that I looked her up online to read her book. And then he was like, yeah. And then I realized.
That's great. That's awesome. Wow. That's great.
Yeah. So it's fun.
Well, I can't wait to watch it. I'm excited. Yeah. I have had such a great time talking to you. And
thank you.
I really just want to say how much I admire you for all that you've done for the trans community. So thank you for coming on. The final question that I always ask everybody on my podcast is, what does living in 4D mean to you?
So for me, I think it's about acceptance of where I'm at and patience. Like those are my issues, because I'm not professionally where I want to be. I'm not working as much as I want to be working. I'm not, and like I said, I mean, I love acting so much that it gets frustrating for me sometimes. So like, those are the things that I have to have, I think that's what it means for me, is like, that just having that patience and acceptance and those type of things, because the other stuff I'm pretty clear on. But I'm older. I know I'm much older than you. I look young is the weird thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm 52 years old, but I don't act it and I don't look it. I mean, I definitely don't act it. I feel like I'm like, about, I don't know, 25 or something. So,
yeah. Well, I found that the age is really just a number.
Totally.
Well, thank you so much, Chaz. It was an honor talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'll talk to you later.